All right, one more thing that I want to talk about on this page is a census. So we're still going to talk about observational and designed experiment, but a census is one way to get that information also. It's a list of all individuals in a population along with certain characteristics of each individual. So that's how, like, whenever you have to fill out a census every year, who's in your household, what are the characteristics of those in the household, that's an important thing every single year for this census. It's all individuals in a population. So that's what makes that important to put that in the census. All right. So we know about designed experiment. They're laid out. They're very specific. But observational studies are also a great way to do experiments. There are a couple different types of observational studies, and let's talk about those right now. There's cross-sectional studies. These observational studies collect information about individuals at a specific point in time or over a very short period of time. At a specific point in time. Oh, that looks like those run together. Let's try that again. Oopsie daisy. I hit the wrong button. In time. Or over a very short period of time. Now remember, observational, I'm not imposing myself on this. I'm just sitting back and observing, all right? For example, it says, a researcher might want to assess the risk associated with smoking by looking at a group of people, determining how many are smokers and comparing the rate of lung cancer. All right? An advantage of cross-sectional studies is that they're cheap and quick to do. That's important. So you think sometimes, oh, I always need to do an designed experiment because that's how I know exactly what's happening. Blah, blah. That can be very expensive. All right? So a big advantage here is that a cross-sectional study, they're cheap and quick to do, just doing at a very specific time, not over a long or a very short period. That's what makes it cross-sectional, a real short, quick look at what's going on. All right. However, they have limitations for that should have been there's a typo. Our lung cancer study, individuals might develop cancer after the data was collected, so our study doesn't necessarily give the full picture because it's over a very short period of time. I'm just looking at, like, just real quick what's happening. All right? Okay. A case control study, all right, that's the next one. These studies are retrospective. Retrospective, meaning they require individuals to look back in time or require the researcher to look at existing records. Look back in time. Or, oh my gosh, look at my handwriting, you guys. Dang. Look back in time. I need to slow down is what I need to do. Or require the researcher to look at existing records. Look at existing records. Okay. In case control studies, individuals who have a certain characteristic may be matched with those who do not. So here's the real deal, Holyfield. In case control studies, these are the ones where you're expected to look back over time. Hey, back when you did this, how did you feel? Right? When you go to the doctor, they always said, over the past 2 months, have you had any of these symptoms, right? That's what this is looking at, that type of scenario. For example, we might match individuals who smoke with those who do not. When we say match, right, notice it's in quotes, individuals, we mean that we would like the individuals in the study to be as similar as possible in terms of demographics and other variables that may respect the response. So once homogeneous groups, right, similar as possible, homogeneous, we learned that, are established, we would ask the individuals in each group how much they smoked over the past 25 years, looking back over, right? The rate of lung cancer between these two groups would then be compared. A disadvantage of this is it requires people to recall what they've done. And it also requires people not to lie about it, right? An advantage is that they can be done relatively quickly and inexpensively. So you're expecting people to remember, and they should be remembering correctly, especially if you're looking at something over 25 years. So you can get that result. You can get it pretty quickly because you're just interviewing these people of what has happened. That's case control, is that retrospective where they're looking back. All right, here's the third type that we're looking at is a cohort study, right? Cohort, as they work together, grouping it up. A cohort study first identifies a group of individuals to participate in the study, which is the cohort. So just like if you have a cohort group going through your studies or degrees, a lot of time you have those like freshman interest groups and cohort groups going through together, and that helps to keep that camaraderie going. So that's kind of what this is, like a cohort group. It groups them up, a cohort study. Okay, first identifies a group of individuals. I should write this down, right? A group of individuals to participate in the study. To participate in the study. I wrote too big, which is the cohort. That group is the cohort, all right? The cohort is then, it's observational study, so what do we do with them? We observe. So they are then observed over a long period of time. Is then observed over a long period of time. So this one takes much longer. That's what makes a cohort. So you're having a specific group. With this specific group, then I'm following this specific group for a long time because I want to see how this plays out. The other ones are, right, up here with the case control, you're just looking back and coming up with your own information, even though it's a long time. Cross-sectional is a real short period of time, real quick, exactly what you're doing. A cohort is really taking the time and going through these exact same people and watching what happens to them. Keep in mind, this is an observational study. So an observational study means we're not going to do anything to affect it. We're just observing what's going to happen. All right. During this period, characteristics about individuals are recorded, and some individuals will be exposed to certain factors, not intentionally. It's observational, and others will not. At the end of the study, the value of the response variable is recorded. Typically, cohort studies require many individuals to participate over long periods of time. Because the data are collected over time, cohort studies are prospective. Another problem with cohort studies is that individuals tend to drop out due to how long this is. This could lead to misleading results. That said, cohort studies are the most powerful of the observational studies, but they're also the most expensive and the hardest to maintain, right? One of the largest cohort studies is the Framingham Heart Study. In this study, more than 10,000 have been monitored since 1948. The study continues to this day with the grandchildren of the original participants taking part in the study. This cohort study is responsible for many of the breakthroughs in heart disease. It cost in excess of $10 million. Super expensive, right? Best one possible, right? It's the most powerful of observational because you're watching something for long periods of time. You're collecting tons and tons of data. However, incredibly expensive and not always the easiest way to go. All right, so here's a bunch of vocabulary for designed and observational studies. We're keeping up with that vocabulary.